Hey, it's Franchise CJ here, and here's my battle for Week 7 of the UBL, the Ultimate Battle League. We're going up against Root and his New Jersey Brobats. If you missed my team builder for this battle, do recommend you go check it out. But let me quickly review my team just in case you missed it. We do have a Specially Defensive Stealth Rocks Necrozma. We have a Life Orb Sneasel. We have an Encore Power-Up Punch Lopunny. We have an Air Balloon Heatran with Toxic 3 attacks. We have a Rocky Helmet Quagsire with mostly Fizz Def and a little bit of Spadef investment. And finally we have a kind of Spadef Toxic Orb Breloom. And as you can see, Root has brought Nidoqueen, Blastoise, Diancie, Shaman, Meloetta, and Swellow. So, few mons what I was definitely expecting to see. Nidoqueen makes a lot of sense, especially if it's like a Fizz Def variant to deal with Lopunny. It also kind of works as a stop to like some variants of Heliolisk, so it definitely makes sense. Blastoise, I'm expecting to be like a Fizz Def variant to help deal with something like Sneasel. Shaman definitely is going to be a bulky variant, probably Spadef, because then it's very good at switching in on things like Quagsire, Diggersby, even Breloom to an extent. Swellow, I'm not too surprised to see. I've seen from a lot of Root's videos that he really likes Flame Orb Swellow, so I'm not expecting like a Choice Spec set necessarily. That can definitely be scary versus my team. I think it's actually the biggest threat versus my team, because as you can see, I only have Lopunny to outspeed it, and then luckily I do have like a Sneasel to revenge kill it with something like Ice Shard. It should do a ton of damage. Like, it probably does like 75% or so, so it could kill after rocks. And then the Meloetta, I'm a tiny bit surprised to see. But, you know, based on the makeup of his team, I think it's pretty likely that it's a Scarf variant. That definitely makes the most sense to me, because he wants something that can revenge kill Lopunny. I don't think that like a setup Meloetta makes the most sense in this matchup, just because I do have that Sneasel to outspeed and revenge kill it, and then I also have Lopunny, which can bop it with a really big high jump kick to do a ton of damage. And even the likelihood of like a Mach Punch, Life Orb, Breloom kind of mitigates the usefulness of Meloetta. So yeah, I don't think setup really makes sense. Like maybe like AV or something to deal with some of my special attackers, but yeah, it's mostly Choice Scarf that I'm expecting. So in terms of leads, I like Necrozma as a lead just because nothing on his team really threatens it except for maybe that Swellow. But if he wants to lead with something like Nidoqueen to try and set up rocks, or if he wants to lead with Diancie to try and get off a Mega Evolution early on, I think that Necrozma is a pretty good lead versus that. And yeah, there's like nothing else I really want to lead with on my team. Heatran is not a possible lead option because I want to keep that Air Balloon intact if I can. Breloom, I don't really like it as a lead, because if he does lead like with Diancie, it's true that I have Protect to get my Toxic Orb right away. Like, that'd be the only reason I want to lead Breloom. But if I do Protect as that Diancie comes in and clicks like Calm Mind or Rock Polish or something like that, I would be in big trouble. So that doesn't really seem like a good option. So yeah, I think the Necrozma is just all around the best way to go. And with that said, we're going to hit play, and we're going to get started with this battle. So good luck, have fun to Root. Just again to give you some context, we are 4-2 going into this game, and a win here puts us in very good position to make playoffs. We basically would only have to win one of our final 3 games in order to have a playoff spot. So I'm hoping that I can do this to sort of lift the pressure from the final couple of weeks. So he does lead Nidoqueen, which works out really nice for me. I could just click rocks here, but on the off chance that he clicks rocks as well, it'd be really nice to get damage off on this Nidoqueen. That would really pave the way for my Lopunny in the late game. So I do decide just to click Photon Geyser, with my intention being clicking Stealth Rock on the second turn, but he actually switches into Swellow. And so I guess he did this expecting my Stealth Rocks, because you know, he wants to get his Swellow in at a maximum amount of HP, be able to do some damage. But I end up hitting it for like 85%, which is pretty great. And I then switch into my Quagsire and actually kill it with Rocky Helmet. It turns out, based on that damage, I guess it was a misgen. He meant to be Guts and instead was Scrappy, because that U-turn did very little damage. So unfortunate for him, but we do end up getting an early KO on that Swellow, which is really, really nice. Because like I said, it was potentially a big threat versus my team. Although, like, again, the misgen sort of mitigated that to some extent. But now he does go into Shaman, and Shaman is like probably the biggest remaining problem for my team. I don't have a really great way to kill it except with Sneasel. And I do have Toxic on a couple mons, but obviously Shaman has Natural Cure and can prevent me from you know, I can't stall it down with Toxic, I guess is what I'm trying to say, and prevent it from stalling it down. But anyway, he does switch out into his Blastoise versus my Necrozma. I do get up Rocks, and expecting him just to go for Rapid Spin, I do go into Breloom, because I figure this would be a good opportunity for to get up my my Toxic Orb. But he actually goes for a Toxic instead, so it's funny, he ended up Toxicking my Breloom. So I didn't even need the Toxic Orb after all. So anyway, I am expecting the double into Shaman here, so I do decide to double into my Sneasel. But he actually goes for Roar, so this is a play that I wasn't really expecting. Just because if I had gone for a Seed Bomb, I would have done a tremendous amount of damage to it. It makes my Sneasel very, very scary at this point in the game. I just need a tiny bit more damage on Diancie. Like, I need probably 2 switch-ins on Rocks in order to kill it with Icicle Crash. But then otherwise, like, I one-shot Nidoqueen, I one-shot Shaman, I one-shot Meloetta if it's not Scarf. So, I really was surprised that he'd be willing to take damage on this thing. But it works out because he gets into my Lopunny. And then I encore him into the Roar. And I am going to just go for a Drain Punch this time because I'm potentially expecting him to go for the switch into Shaman, so that allows me to do the most amount of damage to him. But if he doesn't double, you know, or like a Drain Punch still does decent damage to Blastoise in case he wants to stay in and Roar again. But it also does a little bit of damage versus the Shaman that's coming in. So I do go for the Protect just to scout out what it is that this Shaman wants to do. He does show the Earth Power, so he was expecting my Heatran to come in there. On this, so he's shown Seed Flare and Earth Power. I assume he also has Synthesis, so it's just a question of what his 4th move might be. I am going to go into my Necrozma to scout out what that might be. And it does turn out to be Air Slash, so that's most likely the last move slot, assuming that Synthesis is on his moveset. It doesn't do too much damage. Based on all this damage that Shaman's been doing, it does seem like it's a non-invested, like a non-attack invested Shaman, which totally makes sense. He's going to fire off a Seed Flare, and I am going to choose to Moonlight on this turn to get up to a decent amount of HP. He does unfortunately get the Spadef drop, though, so that means that my Necrozma is going to be very susceptible to this Shaman. I'm thinking about switching out here, but again, it's a little bit of a tricky position because I don't want to switch into my Heatran and pop my Balloon. So he does go for Air Slash. I did like to stay in, and I guess predicted my Breloom to come in, which is a fair play. I do just go for Photon Geyser because I'm sort of at the point where I just need damage off on this Shaman because it's being really annoying. I've got it to like about 50% HP. I'm kind of expecting the Synthesis this turn, so I decided to make an aggressive play and try and go into my Sneasel. And hopefully I can then threaten him with a big Ice-type move. And then he does fire off the Seed Flare instead. So unfortunate for me, didn't get the timing quite right there. I knew that I would survive the Seed Flare with my Sneasel, but I'm not that excited about taking this giant chunk of damage. I do go for Knockoff. I thought he would be switching out into the Blastoise, but he instead stays in with the Shaman. I do think the Shaman would have died to the Icicle Crash, but he is going to be able to knock me out with the Air Slash. So, not a really great situation because this Shaman is now like pretty good versus the rest of my team. I don't have any super effective stab to hit it, but on the bright side, it is at a pretty low amount of HP, and I can, basically, if it wants to switch in on almost any type of unresisted move, it should die after Rocks. But I do bring in my Lopunny. I go for the Ice Punch as he brings in the Nidoqueen. It does about half, and so this does suggest that it's fairly defensive. But after the Black Sludge, it doesn't look like I'm going to be able to KO. It's not a risk that I'm really willing to take. I do go into my Quagsire just because my Quagsire can deal with most variants of Nidoqueen pretty well as long as they're defensive. And again, we've confirmed that based on the damage from the Ice Punch and the fact that it is Black Sludge and not Life Orb. So he does just go for his Rocks here. Good play. I am going to click Ice Punch, anticipating the Shaman switch in. It'll do about 20%, which I think would be enough to kill it after Rocks. But the Nidoqueen actually goes for HP Grass, which is kind of annoying. It's nice prep on his part for sure. It takes me down to about 50% HP, and it means that I can't really stay in here any longer. So I am going to switch on out, and I'm going to go into my Necrozma, just because I do have a pretty good opportunity to either go for a Moonlight here, or get put into range of popping my Ogwav Berry. So he does go for the Earth Power. I live on 18 HP, and I do get that 50% off. So Necrozma is continuing to be a nuisance for him defensively, which is very nice. But at the same time, it's getting, I'm sort of getting worn down. If pop my Ogwav Berry, this thing isn't quite as reliable for dealing with Diancie at this point. So again, it's becoming more and more important for me to keep my Heatran at 100% HP to potentially deal with Diancie. It does switch out into the Meloetta. Takes like 18 to 20%. Even though it sounds crazy, like that actually suggests that this is offensive. I decide to go for a Moonlight here because I wanted to scout out what sort of set he is. Like if he has Shadow Ball or something like that. If he is Scarf and goes for Shadow Ball, it shouldn't kill me. But so yeah, again, just sort of scouting out is pretty important. But he does choose to go for U-turn instead, as I go for a Moonlight and get myself up to a pretty good amount of HP. So this Blastoise is in here. I know that it can go for Toxic again, but it's a tricky situation. I don't want to double into Breloom, because that's a chance for him to double into the Shaman. And so I'd rather stay in here with my Necrozma and hit Photon Geyser and try and punish him if he wants to make an aggressive play. And even if he does stay in with the Blastoise, it's not bad for me to get damage off on this, because having it weakened for Lopunny in the late game is definitely good. So he does just go for the Toxic that turn and Toxic me, and now he goes for a Rapid Spin, and it's going to start wearing me down with the Toxic for sure. I do believe I go for another Photon Geyser here. It's important to note, actually, that this Blastoise outspeeds me. It outspeeds me by 1 point, we found out in the post-game. And so he does go for the Rapid Spin, and this next turn he was going to be able to go for Scald. But basically, if I want to, I can spam rocks until I die, and I will be able to get them up, because he'll spin them away, I'll set them up, and then I'll die to Toxic damage. And so that's actually going to be my plan here. Just having that little bit of chip on things like Diancie and Meloetta is going to be actually really critical, believe it or not. And like I was explaining, because my Necrozma's Agwa Berry has already been popped, this thing's defensive utility is already kind of low. So I'd rather just make the trade of sacking my Necrozma to keep up the rocks. That puts me in a pretty good position. And yeah, then he'll have to deal with whatever I bring in next, which I'm pretty sure is my Lopunny. I don't remember off the top of my head if that's what I choose to bring in or not. But yeah, like High Jump Kick just doesn't have a good switch in on his team at this point. If he wants to go into Nidoqueen, like it's already into a KO range. So I can either go for double High Jump Kick, or I can go for a High Jump Kick into Ice Punch. And that'll be good enough. So I do go into my Lopunny, like I thought, as he chooses to go into his Diancie. Even though this thing is not Mega Evolved and has a pretty good natural bulk, this thing is going to take a chunk from High Jump Kick, as you're about to see. It does like 70% damage, which is fantastic. Yeah, I have no reason not to click High Jump Kick again. Like, basically, I'm going to click High Jump Kick until something dies. And he does then go into his Nidoqueen. Kind of unfortunate. Like, he should have just gone directly into Nidoqueen. There was no reason for him to double out or into Diancie and then go into Nidoqueen first, because his Diancie's now taking a ton of damage for pretty much no reason. But it's potentially, this Nidoqueen's potentially in range of Power Up Punch, but I didn't think it was worth the risk. And I am suspecting that this Meloetta is Scarf. So, like, even if I went for the Power Up Punch and got the +1 boost, he'd be able to immediately Revenge Kill me anyway, so it's kind of pointless. So he does immediately go into his Meloetta, and, like, this was the fastest switch that he made all battle. So I was like, okay, 100% confirmed that this is Scarf. So I decided to go into my Quagsire and sack it off, just because it doesn't have any usefulness really left at this point in the match. He is going to be able to knock me out with that Psychic. And so remaining on my side of the field, I do have Heatran, Lopunny, and Breloom, and I think that's all that I have. I don't think I have any other Mons left, because my Sneasel, my Quagsire, and my Necrozma have all died. Yeah. So anyway, I am just going to go for the Flash Cannon here. He does switch on into his Shaman, and that's definitely going to go down after Rocks to my Heatran. And yeah, puts me in pretty good position. So yeah, he pretty much either has to sack his Diancie next or sack his Meloetta. Because I do have my Air Balloon attack, neither of those Mons can one-hit KO me while I have my Balloon up. I guess like a Meloetta that has Focus Blast, and like maybe if it's like Specs or something, it might be able to take me out. Or even Scarf Focus Blast might be able to take me out. But I'm not sure if he's packing that or not. You know, it does have that big chance to miss as well. He goes for Moonblast with his Diancie, and that's what he chooses to use to sack, or to pop my Balloon. So it definitely makes sense that that's what would happen. But yeah, so that ends up taking out the Diancie. I found out after the match that he actually did have Power Gem on his set, so we'll talk about that when the match is wrapped up. But anyway, he is now going to be able to go out into the Blastoise. I want to preserve my Heatran. I don't want to sack it off here. And the fact that I got the special attack drop is kind of annoying, because it confirms that, or it makes it so that I can't really kill it at all with Earth Power. I don't think I'm in range of Earth Power killing anyway, but it kind of depends on his spread. But he has like what, like 35-40% HP here. So like, yeah, you know, it's like 35%. So Earth Power potentially could have killed, because I am max attack on my Heatran. But anyway, I go into Breloom as he does go for the Roar, and roars me back into the Lopunny, which puts me in a position just to click High Jump Kick for free. And now he's down to his last Mon, and so this is Meloetta here, taking rocks damage. It's at about 45% HP. And he does go for the Psychic, finally confirming that it is Scarf, even though the whole game it has been extremely likely that it was Scarf. So he locks himself into Psychic. I switch myself into Heatran here, and because I have no special attack investment, if he's got the opportunity to go for 2 Psychics versus me. If this first one crits or lowers my SPDEF, he actually wins, which is pretty crazy. Luckily, neither of those things happen on the first turn, so I go for a Flash Cannon. And get it to a range of HP where he should die to a second. He goes for another Psychic. His only chance at this point of winning is critting with this Psychic, and he luckily does not get it. And I'm going to be able to kill with the second Flash Cannon. At the range of HP that this Meloetta was at, the Heatran had like a 45% chance to kill with Fire Blast, and that's before the chance to miss. So when you factor that in, it was probably like a 30-35% chance that we were going to win there if we had hit the Fire Blast. The reason that I bring that up is that if he had gone for Power Gem with the Diancie, like I said, that Diancie would have like put my Heatran at like 50% HP. And so if I was at that range of HP instead of at the range of HP that I was actually at, which was like 75% or so, the Meloetta would have 2 KO'd me with Psychic, which would have forced me into a position where I had to click that Fire Blast, and that would have been very much in his favor. Because, like I said, with the damage roll taking into account, and then also the chance to miss, I probably had like a 30% chance to kill that Meloetta in that situation. And my Breloom, which lacked Mach Punch, would not have been able to survive a Psychic from the Meloetta, and that actually would have put him in the winning position. He would have gotten a 1-0 W. You know, he's so saying, you know, he sort of got flustered in the moment. He didn't, like, the fact that I had an Air Balloon kind of screwed him up. He went into Diancie trying to threaten Earth Power and scare me into Breloom. But realizing that I wouldn't be threatened by Earth Power, he's like, okay, shoot, well, let me just go for Moonblast, because that's what I was going to click versus the incoming Breloom anyway. So, like, it just sort of was like an unfortunate situation where there was too many different factors to consider all at once, and he ended up making a slightly incorrect play. But yeah, in that situation, the game would not have been totally lost anyway. Like, we could have, you know, we could have still won. And yeah, but we did come out with a 2-0 victory when all is said and done, so we're pretty happy about that. This is one of the closest games we played all season. It was really exciting. Good game to root. It was a lot of fun. That's going to drop him to 2-5. Unfortunately, it's going to propel us up to 5-2. With 3 games left in the season to go. So like I said, this now puts us in a pretty good position. I feel confident that if we can win at least one of our next 3 games, that we're going to be locked for playoffs. There's a decent chance that even if we lose out, we might make playoffs. But I don't want that to happen, of course. I'd rather win at least one game. That would definitely be nicer. But yeah, like, the team that he brought was really scary. Dealing with that Shaman was so annoying. That Meloetta definitely could have pulled the game out for him after I sacked my Sneasel and my Necrozma. But we were able to just pull forward with just a little bit of luck, which is really great. So we are going to be playing against Irish Emerald next week and his Wexford Wailords, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's his team name. He's got a very spooky squad with Sarah Aura. It's definitely going to be a tough battle. We're going to try and do our best, though, to catch that dub. And if you guys are looking forward to that battle, make sure you drop a like on this video and you drop a sub so you can stay up to date on all the latest and greatest Pokemon content that's coming out of my channel. So, until the next time, thank you, and I will see you guys later.